Hi, this is Kat Lloyd, Paw Pals TV. I am in Temple, Texas with Steven Cox. We have covered the story about Emba, the ESA that was euthanized by the city of Killeen, and I wanted to sit down and talk to you a little bit. How are you?
All right.
All right? Okay. So you and I started first talking about 2 weeks ago after you got out of the hospital, and then somebody came to pick you up. And then why don't you start and tell us what happened once you got picked up from the hospital?
Well, I went to look for my dog and my cat, and somebody had taken them from where they were and took them off probably 3 miles away, somewhere, and chained them to a fence, and somebody called animal control. They were microchipped to 4 different numbers, but nobody gave a call. Nobody called any of the numbers. And probably the next day or so, Sergeant Moore of the KPD came and found me. He said, "I've been looking for you," and he took me to get breakfast, wanted me to get something to eat, and then after breakfast he said, "Let's walk and talk," and she was microchipped to him, and
okay.
They never gave him a call, or my friend Wendy, or my number. I had 4 numbers on file that they should have called, but they euthanized her within days. They didn't even hold her for the 10-day holding period, and didn't try to contact us, and they knew who she was. They knew.
How did they know who she was?
Well, they did her spaying, and she was microchipped, and everybody knew Emba. You know, they knew her name. They'd put her up for adoption after one day and had her name, a stray named Emba. Yeah, how do they, you know, they knew who she was. They knew who she belonged to.
So she had been at the shelter before?
Yeah.
Okay. By the paperwork that I saw, this last time was actually the 5th time that she had been there over the last, couple of years, for whatever reason. And you were absolutely right. She was microchipped. In the past, had they called?
No, the last time she was taken from Aldi's parking lot, I went in the store and they took her, and I called them. I thought somebody stole her, and I called her several hours later, and they said no, they didn't have her, they didn't pick her up, they didn't pick up any dogs from Aldi's, because I took her over in the shade,
yeah,
and went in the store. And then about an hour or 2 after that, I was just sitting there not knowing what to do, really. And this lady pulls up, she feeds the stray cats, and she says, "Animal control has your dog." And she said, I said, "Well, I called them," and she said, "I saw them put her in the truck." And
so they lied to you?
Yeah, they lied to me.
The last time that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she said, "Get in the car," and she took me to the animal. She said, "I saw him," and she went there with me. And I went in and I said, "You have my dog." She saw you put her in, and so they went and got her. But they were trying to not give her to me then too.
What do you think that was?
Evil.
I understand. Because there was really no reason. She was microchipped. They just didn't want to give it back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And it seems to me from what the research that I've done that they did list her as a stray named Emba. And I can't find microchip scan information on it as well. So you're a Marine veteran. You found yourself in a position where you were homeless. Do you feel that they just felt like you didn't deserve one because of your circumstances, or do you think that it was personal?
I don't know. I don't know why. There's a lot of people around town who've talked about the director there and things that are going on with animals.
Yeah.
And her euthanizing and taking animals and killing them for no reason.
We've been covering stories since 2019 that basically we see that pattern. How did you find her? How did you get Emba, and how long ago was it? Tell me your story about Emba.
That was about 5 years ago. She was in a bad situation, abandoned behind the mall for 3 months. She was 3 months old. And this girl brought her over to my campsite, and she said, "Oh, this is the dog. She's been behind the mall for 3 months." Left her over there, and she kind of hit her, was abusive to her. So when her and her boyfriend went out to go do their thing, they had a vehicle, and they came and stayed in my campsite a couple of nights. And they brought her, and I said, "Well, you want me to babysit her while y'all go out?" And because I didn't really want to take the dog. She didn't have a collar, no dog food or anything. It was real.
You could tell.
She hid in the bush. Yeah, she goes, "Oh, she's just real timid. She's afraid of everybody." Well, I had her that day. I took her out for ice cream and some hot dogs, and to go get some dog food and get her a harness and the stuff she needed. And then she started picking up and looking around at the world. You know, she'd been in woods for 3 months old till she was 6 months for 3 months to fend for herself. I know they didn't take her food out there. They didn't. But she started picking up, and I was kind of crying, you know, because I realized that, you know, she wasn't timid. She'd just been abused and abandoned. And I was like, "God, you got to do something about this situation." You know, what am I going to do? Call police, and she'll probably beat her again later for me doing that. They're not probably going to take the dog from her or anything. But I was like, well, I just packed myself up and walked to the temple, and I said, "But I don't want to take someone's dog." You know, I was like, "God, you need to do something about this situation." Well, I packed up my wagon. I was talking to Porter. I said, "Well, when you see anyone, tell them you saw me getting loaded into a cop car and her getting loaded into the animal control," because I knew they were going to go, you know, searching to try to get her back or pay to get her back. And I was just going to move along. And
so you were just going to rescue her from that situation?
Yeah, and then she pulls up, but right about that time, I'm like, "Oh man." Well, she comes up and she goes, "Well, you want to come hang out with us?" And I was like, "No, not really," because I was really kind of mad at her. And she goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to take her with me." And her name was Nasty, is what they had called her. And she didn't answer to that anymore, but I never called her Nasty. It was always Emba. But she says, "Well, I'm going to take her with me." And I said, "Well, I can't go. I got all my stuff here. You know, I can't leave her more." Well, she said, "I'm going to take her with me." And she started walking. And I told Porter, I was like, "Take my stuff back to the campsite. I'm going to have to go hang out with them now."
You were just trying to keep the Emba safe.
Yeah. I said, "I'm probably either going to wind up in jail or she's not going to hit her again." And I hadn't got up yet. I was still sitting in the stall. Well, she got to the car and opened the back door and said, "Get in, Nasty." Well, Emba stopped about 15 feet from the car and looked at her, and she goes, "Get in," and yelled at her. She looked at her, and she looked over at me, and she looked at her again, and then she beelined it to me, just ran right to me,
wow.
and turned around and sat I was Indian style sitting. She sat in my lap and just sat there, and she walked in. I just put my hands back right there. I wasn't going to make her move.
Like if she wanted to stay there, she could stay.
Yeah, I'm not going to push her toward you. She's sitting there, and she came and she goes, "Come on." She goes, "Well, she seems like she'd be a good dog for you. She seems like she's taken to you. Would you like to have her?" And gave her to me. And I said, "Well, yeah, if you want to get rid of her, I'll take her."
And that was almost 5 years ago.
Yeah. And she looked at her boyfriend. "Should we give it?" And he was all for it because he didn't never hit her, abuse her. He probably
felt sorry for her.
He was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." About 2 years went by, and I always used to say, "I wish," because Emba picked up and she got real protective of me, and she wasn't afraid of people anymore. She was, you know, got her spirit back. She never bit anyone or ever put teeth on anyone. That she even had a kitten. Conundrum, kitty.
Conundrum's running around here, having a great time.
Come here, kitty.
There she goes. Now, Conundrum is actually Emba's cat.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
My neighbor, Wendy, her cat had kittens, so I mean, we would see it daily until it was weaned.
Okay.
In time to and visit and bring it over to the house and let it play once it was moving around good enough. And
so Emba loved.
oh,
It seemed
yeah.
like she loved cats.
Yeah.
She wanted to play. She loved people.
Emba learned how to purr.
The kitty taught it.
When she finally came, they'd play a little bit, and but when I finally brought her over to the house for good, when she was old enough to when she was weaned, they played the first day. Well, then I went into the bedroom, and Emba's acting real unsettled, looking at me like, I could tell with Emba, she's very smart. I knew something was wrong. And the kitty would come over to her, and she's trying to get away from it. She's moving like, she thought it was growling at her because it was purring.
Because it was purring.
And she's like, what's going on? This cat's crazy. Well, I started laughing because I realized that the kitty was purring because she purrs a lot. And she's like, why does this cat want to lay on me and sleep and growl? Because she had never heard a cat purring. And that cat just purrs when it gets beside you.
So Emba started purring.
Well, it was purring. Well, then she figured out that it was not an aggressive deal. Well, then I start hearing, like, did somebody drop a cell phone in my room or something?
That was Emba.
And then I'm like, is my neighbor snoring? Or, I've lived here a year. I've never heard him snore through the wall. What is this?
That is so cute.
And I couldn't figure out, and I'm like, does Emba have some kind of respiratory? Because when I'd go to look in the room, well, it would stop, and Emba would look at me. Both of them would look, because I made my presence in there, so they both look, and it would stop. I'm like, what is this going on? Well, I was in the bathroom cleaning the bathtub one day, which is adjoined to the bedroom, and I hear the and now I don't hear the cat purring from that distance, but I hear the and so I just slowly peek out, and Emba's sitting there face to face with her going and it wasn't like a growl, because her growl was like or she
was actually trying to purr.
Yeah, she'll talk to me. She'll be like, she'll change her, but she was sitting there like a Buddhist monk dog, just and she was doing it for a long period of time, and the cat was purring at her, and they were just sitting there.
That is so cute.
And then I was like, what is it? And then I realized what she was doing. She was purring to the cat.
They were close.
Yeah.
So Steve, the day that you found out what happened to Emba, tell me about that particular moment, because I'm hearing that you saved her 5 years ago, that she was microchipped, that she actually was playful and wanted to even, communicate with the cat and purr. I want people to realize that Emba was not just a dog to you.
No.
Who was Emba to you?
She was my daughter. My sister. My mom. I don't have any family. But she slept with me. We spent all of our time together. She didn't go out in the backyard and stay and take food out. She went everywhere with me.
She was with you all the time?
Yeah.
So in that moment, did you think it was a mistake?
I was hoping it was. I was hoping it had to be. Why they would do that, knowing, not even holding her for a 10-day quarantine, not calling. They did it out of some kind of spiteful, satanic reason.
Now, when you went to the shelter, we kind of sort of got wind that people had seen Emba listed in Pet Harbor on May 27th. She was actually brought into the shelter on May 25th. So 2 days later, they actually had her as code green, friendly, ready for adoption, available for adoption. And somehow between June 1st and June 2nd, she was then deemed aggressive, red temperament, and euthanized as a dangerous dog. I don't see that.
No, there's no way. She's never. I've been assaulted twice out on the street, and she didn't bite the person there. She just barked at them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't even attack them at that point. She did get, she barked at them, but she didn't even bite someone when I was in an actual fight.
Okay.
Or being attacked.
I'm sorry that this happened to you. And I'm sorry that this happened to Emba. There is no explanation. I've seen all kinds of evidence that shows me they never scanned her, but they knew her name because they actually had her listed as Emba. I know that this has been happening a lot in the city of Killeen, and I feel that as an animal lover, what is your message?
Please sign petitions so these kind of things don't continue to happen. I'm not the only person that this has happened to. Emba's not the only dog. She's been euthanized for no reason other than some sick reason.
You've had a lot of people help you, haven't you, through this?
Yeah.
One person is Alana from Red Barn Kennels. What would you like to say to her?
I want to thank you, Anna, for everything you've done. If it hadn't been for you, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't have had anyone else there for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, a lot of people have come up, okay? I know that Anka called me and then Alana called me within a couple of minutes of each other when they told me about your case. I take an oath and I give you my word that I will not stop until there's justice for Emba. We're working on something so that there are a lot of us that want to keep you safe. And I'm not going to even mention it right now. We'll do it in a couple of weeks or a couple of months once we're able to share with people. But you and I have spoken about you going into a situation or you going someplace where you're going to stay safe so that you can prepare to fight for Emba, correct? Okay. Do you accept that invitation to go into a safe place?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So there's a lot of good things happening in the future for him, and I think that I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that, I want her ESA vest back. There's a lot of things that I want in this petition. So if you would like to sign the petition at change.org/Justice for Emba, I think that this will actually allow us to put more pressure here in the state of Texas and in the city of Killeen so that we can get some answers so that this never happens again. Would you like one last word about anything?
I'd like to thank everyone that's assisted me through this and supported me and donated through this time, and I appreciate it, and it's helped a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Steve, thank you so much for coming in. I will be back in a couple of weeks to check up on you and to sort of see what's on for the next step of this fight for Emba. Is that good? Okay. This is Kat Lloyd, Paw Pals TV. Remember, be kind to your animals. Spay, neuter, microchip them. If you have a problem like Steve just went through with Emba, I ask you that you call me. At the end of the day, us animal lovers have to stick together for the sake of Emba. We'll see you guys next time.